Well, welcome back. This is Julie Baranick, host of the Seven Figure Builder Show, and I'm here today with my friend Rob Jolles. Hey, Rob.
Hey there.
I am so excited to talk to you. You are brilliant, best-selling author, professional speaker. I know you teach people about sales, keynotes, workshops, and you also have the brilliant pocket-sized pep talk. So welcome to the show today.
It's an absolute pleasure, and I don't do a whole lot of guesting, so I'm can't get the smile on my face. This is easier and more fun. So I'm all
Absolutely.
yours.
Awesome. Well, tell us a bit for those listening that haven't had the pleasure to meet you yet, what it is that you do and the power that you have behind it.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I started as sort of just a lowly insurance salesman with a New York life insurance company, but I got bitten by the training bug. And just basically the managers got stuck. They got double parked, and somebody had to take over a slot while the apprentice field underwriters were in. I took over, and I really got like an acting fix. And I grew up sort of wanting to be an actor, but I was raised by a Marine, and we weren't having an actor in this family. But I've always loved performing, and I found, wow, kind of the mixture of performance and business, and so became a trainer for New York Life, then Xerox for about a decade, and trained all the trainers, and then it's now 31 years I left, and I've got about 3 million miles in the air. I go all over the world, and just made my living as a professional speaker.
I love it. So you are a professional road warrior.
Yeah, it's one of my books, actually.
I
And
know.
one book, the only book I've never been asked to speak professionally on, because most businesses won't say, "Hey, let's give a keynote slot to a guy who's going to tell everyone in the audience, stay home, balance your life out. Your families are just as important as business." Yeah, so I don't get a whole lot of keynotes off that one, but close to my heart, that book.
For sure. And I know you're very passionate about selling, and I love, as I mentioned, I love to geek out on this. But tell us, what is it in your experience that people are missing in the world of selling?
Yeah, and what a wide open question, but I love questions like that because wherever that dart hits is probably where it should be. So my reaction to your question is I don't think they actually know the definition of selling. So before we teach somebody how to sell, maybe we should figure out, well, what is it? And so most people think that selling, for instance, and I've polled audiences for almost 20 years now on this question. Most of them think it's something like, well, I'm there to take your needs and provide solutions and listen to you, or I'm there to link my ideas to the benefits of your piece of thing that you want. And that's what's coming out of the book. The real definition of selling is I actually want to take my idea, put it in your brain, and make you feel like you thought of it. And if we really understand that we're not really asking people what they need, that's a part of the selling process. But should we create trust first? Should we then not only figure out why we got in here, other than it was a sunny day, but go deeper into whatever issue there is and really start following the customer's decision cycle, not our own. So my first brush at your question is, yeah, let's make sure we know what the definition is, and we can put process behaviors behind exactly what I just said, by the way. And two, let's follow the customer's decision cycle. It is repeatable and predictable, and maybe that'll give more logic to the things we do as salespeople.
For sure. I know when I first started in business, I was scared to death of selling. Like I hated the whole thought of it. Like I love helping, right? Like I'm really good at helping. I'm really good at coming up with solutions. But the thought of selling, like I just hated it. So for those
Yeah.
people listening that have a physical aversion to it, like what would you say to them and help them, move forward past that?
Outstanding. Two things. One, what really separates people who sell and don't sell is just the ability to, in a sense, take a punch, meaning rejection. Other than that, I think there isn't this super weird set of skills. It's, can somebody look in the eye and go, you know what? I'm not buying what you're saying. I don't want it. And by the way, get off my lawn. Can you handle that? If you can't, it might not be the profession for you. But really, it's salespeople just lose a lot. Even great salespeople, we lose and we win. Great salespeople, like a baseball player. Baseball, a 300 hitter is a superstar. That means they're making every 10 times up, they're losing 7 times. Salespeople, our numbers, I hope, are better, but we lose a lot. A, can you handle rejection? B, can you handle a commission? And meaning, well, we're gonna be on our own wits here. But real fast, in 30 seconds, I want to tell you, I wish the world would get rid of that one because we're all on commission, meaning you can be a salaried employee. You have a set of goals and numbers or things that you need to do. If you meet your expectations, you'll get paid, et cetera. If you exceed them, they're not going to pay you extra. You're doing what we told you to do. If you don't, you'll be put on a performance improvement plan, maybe gone in a few months, blah, blah, blah. A salesperson's really the same thing. Here's my goal. Here's what I'm supposed to do. I don't know about you, but I wake up in the morning kind of wanting to exceed expectations. If I exceed them, I'm compensated for them. If I meet expectations, I'm paid just like the person who isn't on commission. And if I don't, I'll be in my own way put on a performance improvement plan and probably won't be here in 3 or 4 months. What's the difference other than I get to be paid for exceeding expectations and those on commission don't? That's coming from a salesman now, but I do believe we shouldn't fear this commission thing. We're all kind of on our own form of it.
Yeah. And one thing that helped me personally, I know, was it's truly a numbers game. And I know that has like positive and negative connotations, but to your point of being able to handle rejection, if you hit enough no's, you're pretty much guaranteed to have a yes at some point. It's just how many
Yeah.
no's does it take? And can you lessen that, as you get better and refine your process?
Yeah. And you know what? Can you learn from those no's?
Right.
In other words, let's not be a victim of those rotten customers. This economy, I tell you. Uh, no, I wish people wouldn't be so hard on themselves too. Don't walk out of any situation, A, not evaluating, or B, just going, I can't believe I did this. I lost again. No, I think like a corporate trainer. I still do. Meaning, if I were parenting my children, I wouldn't tell them, here are the 6 things that you did wrong in the soccer game today. It was fun coming and watching you. I think what I do is probably, well, maybe not in a soccer game, but what I'm trying to do is say, what were maybe 2 things that I really liked that I did in there, even if I lost, so that I don't do that by accident. I want to be a conscious competent, not an unconscious competent, right? And then what are 2 things I could have done differently? Even if I won, what are 2 things I could do differently? If we balance our feedback for other human beings we manage or relate to, if we follow the same rules with ourselves, we can't help but get value even when we lose. And that means it's never wasted. A loss is never wasted as long as we learn something from it.
Yeah, for sure. I know. And I'm very methodical in my brain, and I think you are too, but I like to think of it in the terms of micro conversions. Like you're getting people even in your sales pitch. Like I had one yesterday, and it's like, okay, he followed me up till this point. Something set up sales resistance. Okay, what is it that I did? What is it that I said? And what is it that I can take from it the next time, right? Like this went smoothly up to here. And what can I do to improve it for the next time? It's like refining things live. Like I really actually enjoy it now that I've gotten to the point where I'm confident in it. But it took me a while to get here.
Well, you said something really important that your audience should hear. Nobody's great out of the gate. Let's stop being so hard on ourselves. Let's balance our feedback and remember that there's this funny thing called a track record. There's this funny thing called repetition that where we will improve. We see people sometimes. I may be an example of it as a basketball player. I really wasn't that good, but I just didn't want to give it up. And I couldn't make myself grow any taller. I couldn't make myself, become, I'm not a huge guy. I'm 5'10", and when I'm standing up nice and straight and 160 pounds, maybe. And that's now, okay? But, if we're willing to outwork the person to the right and left and really put in the best effort we can and keep shooting that basketball, keep shooting, we will improve. And eventually, we may not be a superstar, but we'll be a daggone good ball player. And I became a pretty good basketball player, but none of it came easy to me. And even as a coach, and I coached a lot of teams, I always sort of warmed up to the kids where it wasn't coming as easy because those are the ones I love coaching. As long as they were willing to grind and fight and work for it, those are the ones that win ball games for you.
100%. And I know a lot of times, as we're talking with our customers, we might feel like they may not believe us or we don't have, the confidence or credibility that we need in that conversation. And I know this is very near and dear to your heart. Can you tell us a bit how people can really, you can even have a book on it.
Why, yes, Julie, I can. I did. Let me tell you, that book came, and I do. I have a book called "Why People Don't Believe You," and quite frankly, that was the publisher's idea. It's almost embarrassing when I tell somebody, "Julie, I've got a book for you." Now that I know you, I have a book for you. It's the best book you'll ever. It is
The
perfect for
perfect
you.
fit.
Yeah, it's called "Why People Don't Believe You," Julie. Yeah, it's almost like a weapon. But it
Right.
was going to be called "It's Not the Words, It's the Tune," and I think it's the trilogy for me as a salesman and a sales trainer. That I spent most of my life telling people how to sell. I wrote a book called How to Change Minds: The Art of Influence Without Manipulation, to tell people more of why to sell. Because a lot of people, many people listening, who I'm not a salesperson. I really don't like sales. We get it, but you also hear until your eyes roll up in your head. But we all sell, so maybe we have to be able to have a conversation with people to realize, as a parent, as a manager, you're selling.
Mhm.
So, but maybe what's holding you back is we don't know why we're selling. We don't understand. It's one of the kindest things you can do for another human being is to help them over their fear of change. But the third book, and it didn't actually come from the sales pit, came from working with people who are actually chronically unemployed. I spent about 10 years, and I still do, volunteering to help people in that space. Found people that were learning elevator pitches and star stories and really memorizing things. But what was holding them back was it just they weren't believed. What the words just didn't sound authentic. And Julie, I don't know you that long, but I know you long enough where that's not a problem for you. Uh, but that's almost genetic, you know. It's not a problem for me. But I didn't go to a class on it. It's the way I was born. What about the other half of the population who just don't really have the? It's like singers who can't hear the notes as well. Well, what do? We can't give up on those people. They can't give up on themselves. So I wanted to write a book that really sort of studied the art and act of, and that petri dish for 10 years of working with people who were chronically unemployed, typically because they weren't believed, really gave me a lot of case studies to work with. And so anyway, it's been a fun book.
That's awesome. And it's funny you comment that it may not be a problem for me, right? And I do feel very confident at this point in my life, but I'll tell you, as a kid myself, I was really quiet. And my parents joke now because as a kid, I didn't talk. Like I was just very, very quiet. It was a very chaotic household, we'll say. So I just kind of stayed under the radar and that was where I hung out. So, obviously as an adult, I've grown a lot and learned a lot. But, to that point, you can grow and learn anything if you put your mind and enough effort behind it and really get the right resources to get the expertise from people that know what the heck they're talking about.
Absolutely right. And it's not uncommon. We have to adapt and evolve. It'll still be, when you go to that party next Saturday night, it's still not, and don't know a lot of people, it's not going to be the most comfortable thing for you, but we adapt and we evolve and we kind of begin to figure it out a little bit. But it doesn't surprise me. I'm a card carrying extrovert. Everybody thinks that, but I got to tell you, having a dinner with two clients. I'm going to speak in the morning, maybe do a keynote or whatever. And I'm with, three corporate whatevers. It's agonizing to me. I don't, I'm outing myself right now. It's agonizing to me. That's not natural for
Yeah.
me. I'm not a guy who really pushes peas around, but if I feel like talking, I'll talk. And if I don't, I won't. But when you're in those types of corporate situations or business situations, you don't have that choice. You're
Mhm.
talking, and if you're the speaker in the morning, you better be interesting. So,
Yeah.
so we adapt and evolve.
Yeah.
Build up a track record, I guess.
Yeah. And I know one thing that helped me in my corporate career is I remember taking a course that they were offering, and it was like a professional development course about presentation skills. And I'm like, when am I going to use this? And I took the presentation skills and then I took the subsequent executive presentation skills. And I know this is something also near and dear to your heart, but it is something that has helped me more than anything, I think, in my career. And it's something I use every day. I use it in podcasting, I use it in client interactions, I use it everywhere. And in corporate, I use it to present to, the C-suite and all of the executives that I was working with. So what do you recommend for people as they're trying to build those skills that would be helpful for them?
Yeah, great question. First of all, we now interrupt this question with a bulletin. Schools and colleges, would you please drop the soft skills word? It's demeaning. They're called performance skills in my book. and make that more important. I know English 101 was a requirement and Math 101 was a requirement, and I would have Performance Skills 101 as a requirement. We have to learn how to string words together and how to fit with other people on teams and things that we're going to learn the hard way if we don't. Okay, we now return to your podcast. I just had to get that off my chest. When it comes to presenting, at least for me, and that was actually the first book I ever wrote because I was teaching all the trainers at Xerox, a train the trainer of sorts. I think I think one of the things that we've all heard this ridiculous model. It was good in 10th grade. Tell them what you're going to tell them, then tell them what you told them. And everybody holds on to that like it's the holy grail. It's almost negligence to say that that is actually a model that you're going to use for your life. How about we tell people what's in it for them? I do it as a salesperson. I do it as a trainer, and we probably don't need to wait around a long time to get there. So I wouldn't be telling too many stories before. Here's what's in it for you. How about we tell people what the big picture is, which we never got in school. I remember taking math classes and actually putting up my hand and going, well, this logarithm thing, am I going to see that at the supermarket? Where does this come in? And I mean, it was like watching that old Oliver musical where I'd ask for more porridge. It practically, chased me out. How dare you ask what the big picture of this is? Well, adults learn better when they know what the big picture is. Of course, they want to know what you're going to tell them, but what about the way you'll do it? Is there going to be a quiz? Do you really want to sneak up on people in a corporate environment? What do you expect of them when it's over? Where'd your information come from? There's so many things that we can intelligently put in there that really tell them what you're going to tell them. I don't think the hard part is the body of a presentation. I think the challenging part is those first couple minutes for the audience and you, and how we stick that landing at the end, and how we meaning close that presentation. Those require thought and creativity. And if we do that, the body of the presentation rarely holds people up. Just stay creative, you know. But yeah, I wish we spent more time on that with people. It's a valuable skill that you don't have to be a professional speaker to want to improve there.
For sure. And I think about, to your point of sharing the big picture with people, like I think when people understand why this is important to them, it helps them connect the dots and it helps it stick more. It's like, okay, that makes sense. And I can relate, at least for me. I know I'm constantly relating it to other people, other things in my mind. But I also think about my kids, like taking trig or something like, how
Right.
is this important to me? And am I
Yeah.
ever going to use it again in my life? You know?
Yeah. And by the way, if you answer that, I'll study trig more. I'll
Right.
pay more attention. But right now I'm not connecting the dots, so I'm distracted. I'm doodling. So I thought that the idea of education is to teach a human being as much as you possibly can, that they'll not only be entertained and inspired and motivated, but they'll learn it and they'll implement it. Well, if we do things like that, I love the fact that you cued into that big picture. See, when you look at an audience of 10 people, there's one Julie who wants the big picture. There's that guy Jolles. He just wants to know what's in it for him. Feels like he knows this already, so we probably should get at that. There's somebody who got burned last time because they at the end they needed to provide A, B, and C, and nobody told them going in, so they weren't really prepared. So they're angry. Everybody comes in with different stuff. They don't wear signs, so we have to, as educators, say, I'm going to come right down the middle. I'm going to hit this. And by the way, it seems lengthy. I'll do it in 3.5 minutes or less. It's not that, I actually, when I do my classes, sometimes I call it the Jolles Challenge. I will walk out of the room and say, pick any topic as long as it's clean and give me 30 seconds and I'll run the entire process in less than 3.5 minutes. So I don't want people to think that we're going to slow them down, but you pay me now or you pay me later. Let's get that audience on our side, ready to roll. And even if they're excited coming in, you're not going to lose them by pumping them up a little higher. So, but yeah, it requires some thought.
Yeah, it does for sure. And that it really helps give people the context of why do they care? Like you mentioned earlier, like
Yeah.
more you can get that in their brain, why this is important to them, the more you have their attention. And you mentioned earlier about closing, and that's such a big part of sales, of course. Like you can talk all day, but if you're not closing the sale, you're not making the progress that you want. But what are some tips that you can give to people as far as closing that, creating authentic urgency, like whatever those
Okay.
keys are?
Okay. So I'm going to do it in two halves as I could, because I
Sure.
love the fact you introduced urgency. It's amazing what happens if you sell well on the upper end, how you'll hear the grizzled vets go, closing is the easiest part of the sale. Well, it is if the customer is, committed to making a change and your change is the best and you've diffused price. Of course, that's easy. So urgency is really the key, meaning usually a customer doesn't bring you in because they have no problem to solve.
Mhm.
So there's usually something. It's probably not that big a problem or they would have solved it already. Welcome to the world of sales. So yes, there's trust needs to take place and there are moves we can make. But urgency is probably the most important thing I've ever learned as a salesperson, which is I don't want to just know what this challenge is that you have. I want to ask four more questions no one's ever asked you. I want to go deeper. I want to look at the long term impact. I want to look at who else is affected. I want to look at what it's costing because the longer I stay there and avoid telling you how to fix it and how great my solution is, the more urgency you'll feel to address it and the more I'll be diffusing price. If this is the most important thing in your life, I don't think you're looking for to go to Walmart. No offense to
Yeah.
Walmart, but but if it's a nice to have, yeah, let's get it on Amazon, whatever. If your business, your family depend on it, you're not going to get it at Walmart. So a lot of the work I'm doing is upfront, and just to spell that out a little deeper, because I know you're a process person. Conceptually, that means I call them developing probes, but just ask more questions. Just ask open-ended questions about the problem. Ironically, just don't use the word problem. Customers don't like it. So challenges, obstacles, barriers to success. Stay there. Then we'll show a solution. That's the easy part. Now the second half of your question. Closing. Couple tips. Well, I happen to love trial closing in a close. It's sort of a summary close. There's numbers out there that say no matter how well you sell, people will frequently object. They should object. It's if there's an issue. But the one place you don't want an objection is while I'm got my hand extended and saying I'd love to work with you. So I can't read tea leaves. I think one of the best moves you can make in closing is through a closed probe, yes or no. Just ask somebody based on what we've talked about from everything you've seen. Uh, do is this something that looks like? Is this something that looks like you'd want to move in this direction? Boy, I'm usually more articulate on that. Let me summarize. Let me do that one again for you. Given you this, does this look like something that would be of value to you? If no one's going to say yes to that and no, I don't want to do it. So yeah, it looks of value. Then my second tip, and I'll move off this, is don't be afraid to ask for somebody's business. We're not coming from not just sneaking around, dropping a pencil and coming up asking for your business. Wouldn't you agree with what I've talked to you about? You're getting everything you said you were looking for. Yes. I'd love to work with you. But break that question in half because if somebody says yes to that, they know they're about to buy. And so they may very well push back with that last objection. Well, wait, I got a partner. I got a this, that. Would love to have heard that earlier, but that's okay. Let's get the partner. But I don't want to know at that point. Give me a no any other time in a sales call, except and it's figuratively speaking, while my hand is extended. That now I'm battling the objection and your ego. And I don't want, I said no, and I'm not letting Julie convince me. Oh my gosh. So no, wouldn't you agree? We got everything taken care of. Customer says yes, then I'd love to work with you. Or, is Tuesday good or is Wednesday better? Really, that becomes a style move. But know how you're going to ask for somebody's business.
Yeah. Which what I'm hearing with that is get the no's up front, like any objections up front,
Yeah.
follow with series of yeses to like really get them, make sure they're, aligned with what it is that you're offering, and then go in and ask for the sale at the end because
Yeah.
now they're already teed up.
Yeah. One more fast thing. We all wind up for this big pitch of, will you do business with me? But when you study customer decision cycles, they're actually going through multiple decisions. And the biggest one is, do I actually want to make a change the way I'm doing this or not? In other words, do I want to fix this problem or not? So when we stay in that urgency area, right, and we don't solve it, we don't fix it, we just study the problem, which is what a consultant does. You're a consultant. We're doing that anyway. When we stay there, the greatest trial close I never hear anybody use, but I use is, do you think it's worthwhile looking at other ideas? If a customer says yes, let's stop pounding away at the problem. And if a customer says no, why would I want to offer you a solution? Let's stay here. Maybe we're not a good fit, but it's a wonderful trial close. People get nervous at trial closes. I'm not asking for your business, but I know that your first decision is fix, don't fix. Let's do that one first. Then we'll figure out what to fix it with, where to get it from, and then then I'll ask you want to buy this from me. But see, we chip away. We don't just wind up with the one big close.
Yeah. And usually they're not making the decision at the end. Either they've already made the decision up front or they're making it somewhere in the middle. But the end is just, are you ready? Right.
Yeah. But don't be afraid to say, are you ready? Right.
Right. You have to.
Because some people will back off that question. And listen, I went skydiving one time. I remember right before I jumped out, when they were teaching us, the guy said, I know why you're here. Like everyone else, but you're motivated by 51% curiosity and 49% fear. And I remember thinking, that's about right. You know, a lot of times people are not 100% on board. There's still resistance there. We have to look them in the eye and ask them. If somebody beats me to the punch, lovely. I won't ask it. But I don't have a whole lot of customers who will say, wait, hold, stop, Jolles, you're so good. Let me close me. So it's a natural part of the process, but earn the right to be there. It's no big deal.
I love that. And you've accomplished so much in your career with your
Thank you.
books, everything, your podcast, which is amazing. But how do you define success? What does that look like for you?
You know, how many times a day people will ask you, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? I have one answer that I use almost 100% of the time, all day long, every day. And the words are, I'm happy. Now, I'm not always happy. I'm usually happy. But when I'm not, it's a trigger. It means I got to confront that. I got, sometimes we don't wake up and go, I feel like being unhappy today. It's sort of like a cloud. It just sort of moves in. When you have little triggers that say, excuse me, look at the cloud, deal with it. So my first answer to you is little to do with money or podcasting. It has to do with being happy. And it's hard when you're very young. You're still gathering things and learning and skinning your knee. But I think that's a path that we all just try and be on, and it's not a straight line. And but to me, I look forward to the day when I retire, but I'm not going to stop podcasting or training if people have me out. I'm just going to stop chasing money around. That's part of life too. But I don't define it as how much money we chase around. I define it as, can we figure a way of trying to take this blessing of life that we have and treat it with respect, which is, let's try and be as happy as we can for as many minutes and seconds and hours as we can. That to me is success.
And I love your answer to the question of how are you? Because personally, I hate that question. It's such a nice, and I find myself doing it, and it's like, I like that answer better. So I may borrow that if that's okay. I like
Definitely try it and shoot me an email, because I'm gonna tell you, every other time you say it, you'll see people go, it sort of takes their breath away. Like, well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, I'm glad you're happy.
Well, then good. What's your next question?
Right.
But it's a throwaway line anyhow. You're doing me a favor. You're reminding me to be happy.
Yeah, I'm thankful for what I have. Exactly. So I'm curious, if you had the attention of the whole world for 5 minutes, what would you tell them?
What would I tell the world if I had him for 5 minutes? I would tell them, let's all have our own opinions here and not look at a different opinion as evil or terrible. And that means don't push your opinion so hard. Let's, can't we all just get along? I value people's opinions. I wish people would understand that it's just an opinion. We're allowed. It's healthy. Sometimes when I work with somebody else, I'll do some LinkedIn lives, and I have another sales trainer, and I'm always pushing her, going, "I wish you would disagree with me more." That's not offensive to me.
Right.
If you call me an idiot, that could be offensive to me. It doesn't have to be personal. We're allowed opinions. Have opinions. Just respect other people's opinions, and be willing to have your opinion changed. We seem to always want to change somebody. I'm going to go in there and change that person's opinion. Okay, you go ahead, pull up a chair. You can change my opinion on one condition. then I'm allowed to change yours too. And if we go into that conversation that way, we'll have a wonderful conversation. That's not the way we do it. We it's usually very one-sided, and that's why it becomes confrontational for often, and that makes me sad. I like opinions.
I do too. I think that's the beauty of podcasting is being able to have spontaneous, non-scripted conversations with people to share your opinions, share your expertise, and bring more value to the world.
Agreed. Great opinion. I
Thank you.
unfortunately I agree with your opinion. Okay.
Right. You can't dispute that.
Darn it.
Well, for people listening that want to get a hold of you, where can they find you online?
It's very simple. I'm at jolles.com. It's as simple as that. And then I write something called a blarticle for 15 years. It's not a blog. It's not an article. It's a blarticle. And I actually got a circle R by it. Not to please, world, have at it. Take that word. Just allow me to have it. That's why
Right.
sometimes we protect it. But you can find that. You can find the podcasts. You can find books and speaking engagements that I'm going to or looking for. And that's what I do. I love coming out and I do workshops, seminars. I've got about 3 million in the air now. My arms are tired, but
I bet they are.
it's I've been all around this world. It's a big world, but yeah. But you can learn all about me there.
I love it. And we'll have all the links down below for people to come check it
Thank you.
out. And thank you, Rob, for being on today.
It's a pleasure. I love the conversation. I actually love the format because it's very similar to mine. I like a conversation. You're just the way you said you were, which is it's just nice having a cup of coffee with you and just talking about things. So really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, of course. If you found value in this episode, please do share it. That's how people find us. And you can find me at sevenfigurebuilder.com. And I'll see you on the next episode.